Board of Commissioners, today is Tuesday, August the 25th, 2026. The time is 6 o'clock p.m. I'm calling the meeting to order. I ask that you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner Tebby.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Ackrey?
Here.
Commissioner Downing?
Here.
Commissioner Smith? Here. Commissioner Tebby?
Here.
Mayor Washington?
Here.
We have our quorum and are duly qualified to conduct business.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. A little housekeeping. I'd like to move presentations of Representative Dietz right after reading of the minutes. So without objections, we'll have Representative Dietz presentation by Kentucky League of Cities. But first, may I have a motion to dispense with the reading and approve the minutes from August 11th, 2026?
I'll make it. I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Ackrey, second by Commissioner Tebby. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. With that, would like to call Gracie Kelly to the podium from the Kentucky League of Cities, who will be presenting a Friends of City Award to our state representative, Stephanie Dietz.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Like the Mayor said, my name is Gracie Kelly. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for the Kentucky League of Cities, and with me I have Mallory Baker, our Government Affairs Communications Manager. We appreciate you all for having us here. This is actually my first time here in the city of Covington in Euro City Hall, so thank you all for welcoming us. Our KLC Board of Directors votes every year on legislators that we want to present the Friend of Cities Awards to. And we are pretty picky. Some organizations in Frankfort, you know, it's you get an award, everybody gets an award, but we are pretty diligent in who we select in this process. You either have to sponsor one of our bills, be a key member in leadership, or help us with a very important issue or issues throughout the legislative session. This legislative session was no easy task. There were several defensive issues that we had to pursue, along with a lot of offensive issues. We were able to get 15 of our KLC bills passed this session, and that is a number we are extremely proud of. I do want to thank Charmalee and Sebastian for all of their help this session, and you all as well, city officials, because there was a lot of tough issues on the chopping block this legislative session. But tonight I'm here to recognize Representative Stephanie Dietz. She has been a tremendous help to us in Frankfort throughout her time serving Northern Kentucky. She not only is a fantastic representative, but I also consider her a friend. She is absolutely truthful and honest. If you come to her over questions about a bill, she will sit down, make the time to meet with you, and give her honest feedback on any type of bill, and she is very straight up. This session in particular, she sponsored one of our KLC initiatives regarding first responders and firefighters. We are very, very grateful for that. And as you all know, she also sponsored House Bill 495 regarding occupational taxes, and I know that bill was very important to the city as well. So with that, I would like to offer Representative Dietz a few minutes to speak, if you don't mind, and we are happy to name her a Friend of Cities.
Well, first of all, Mayor and council members, you all make it very easy for me to do what I do, and you make me look really good because you're so easy to work with. And so I'm just going to say thank you to KLC and thank you to Gracie for coming to Northern Kentucky to present this, and especially to Covington, because I know we worked hand in hand on a bill, and sometimes it's not necessarily about getting a bill passed, but it's maybe a message that's sent when we file the bill. So I learned that, and I hope we can continue to work together. So thank you all for making me look good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor,
So we're going to do one more recognition, and then we're going to go into recess for photographs, okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Stephanie, thank you for always being there for us to call and run things past and sponsoring our bills. That's important to our community. Really appreciate you for doing that. So, next order of business, will the clerk please report item number 1 under new business?
An order accepting the retirement of J. Kyle Snyder, Executive Director, Covington Motor Vehicle Parking Authority and Infrastructure Development Specialist, Economic Development Department, effective August 31st, 2026.
Thank you. May I have come to the, that's fine.
It's been a while since I've been up here.
Sure.
But for Kyle, would definitely be honored to be able to share a few just brief comments. About 4.5 years ago, it's been a while since I've had the honor to be the chair of the Parking Authority. And about 4.5 years ago, we started looking for an executive director. And it was not an easy feat because we didn't really know all of the different tasks that were needed. But when Kyle came forth and with his skill set of GIS, his personality of being able to work with the community, it shone. It was something that it was a no-brainer to have Kyle lead this parking authority, help lead, make sure that we took a program that was created and just take it to that next level. And Kyle definitely did that. Whether it's working with the community on parking meters, on parking resident programs, we've learned so much about parking residential programs and still learning. Being able to talk about the swoop theory, I think you've educated so many people about the importance of parking to the point where we all feel like we're complete nerds while we're at different happy hours and other things. So I can't thank you enough for all of the time and energy and effort that you've put in. These past 4.5 years have been a pleasure. I know I also have other board members, John Steinman, I think Greg Pape is also here, and then we also, Molly and Daniel, we've all been extremely appreciative and been so honored to have you lead us. And I'm excited that you now get to go sail when you want to sail. You get to do what you want to do. That also is a huge honor that you've been able to do for Kenton County, for the city of Covington, and just could not appreciate it more.
Jack Monstioka. I have the privilege of taking over for Kyle Snyder as the next director of the Parking Authority, and I would like to present him with this first of its kind honorary parking meter since tonight his time with us expires.
There we go. That's amazing.
Thank you, that was heavy. I got to work with Kyle for a little more than 4 years in my previous role with ABM, and I couldn't have had a better model for how to conduct yourself as a public servant and as a representative of the parking system. I learned about how to engage with the community from you. Kyle took every phone call, he addressed every complaint. He was the first person to show his face anytime there was any type of issue. And he made everybody around him feel heard and respected and valued. His tenure didn't even quite last for 5 years, but he made a ton of improvements to the parking system and the customer experience, from $1 million plus in critical maintenance that was long overdue for a lot of our facilities, to modernizing the parking meter system. The parking experience got a lot better under his tenure, and I'm honored and privileged to carry on his work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Kyle, would you like to address this?
Sure.
Thank you.
For starters, this is an old retired meter. This is the coin-op only that we have that we replaced with digital solar-powered smart meters that take credit cards. But yeah, it still works. It's a clockwork mech. But it's been a privilege and an honor to be here. I've really loved engaging with the community and working on a system and growing it and making it better. I think, as Jack said, I've kind of been the preaching about what parking is and what it means to the city, not just for parking, but as an economic development tool, as one of the first and often the last interactions that a resident or especially a visitor has with the city, that you come in and you park, and if it's easy and clean and doesn't feel expensive and doesn't feel, like a cash grab somehow, then you feel better about it. And a big part of my job has been addressing problems where that happened and hoping to make those smoother and better as we go. So I hope I'm leaving the city and the parking system better than I found it. And we'll do some other work along the way. I probably won't be a stranger. I'm planning to substitute teach at least to start with, and we'll see where life goes from there. But it's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you very much.
May I have a motion for an order accepting the retirement of J. Kyle Snyder, Executive Director of Covington Motor Vehicle Parking Authority?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by
second.
Commissioner Downing, second by the Vice Mayor. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Ackrey,
Aye.
Commissioner Downing,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Tebby,
Aye.
Mayor Washington.
Kyle, you've got one of the toughest jobs in City Hall. You had one of the toughest jobs. Nobody's in love with the Executive Director of the Parking Authority, but we appreciate what you brought to the system. It was new for our city. I sat on the original Parking Authority board, so it's come a long, long way, and we just appreciate everything that you've done for our community and our city, and happy retirement, and I vote aye. Thank you. Vice Mayors.
Just a very quick comment. One, Director Snyder, I just know the first time I met you, you actually introduced yourself to me at a ribbon cutting, and you made every effort to get to know me, and you weren't just doing a great job outside looking in as a commissioner, but as a local business owner and a citizen, you did an incredible job. To everyone that I introduced you to every issue that we had, you were fire, so thank you. And I have to say the same for you, Representative Dietz. It was the same sort of interaction that I've had with you, not just as our representative, but as a local business owner and citizen. Anything that we navigated, you listened to us, and I really appreciate it. You guys both, were so lucky to have you, and thank you so much. That's all I have. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Without any further comment, we're going to stand in recess so we can take some photographs with Representative Dietz and then with Kyle. Meeting back into session. Next up is public comments. I just want to remind the audience that you have 3 minutes to address the commission. When you come to the microphone, we ask that you say your name and your address where you live at. Typically, commissioners will not answer questions. They may ask you a clarifying question. So that's why we're not going to respond. For the most part, we have a portion in our agenda that the commissioners have the right to speak, and that's the end, around the end of the meeting. So knowing that, first person up, there's the sign-on list, and a lot of times people will make this mistake. They think since they're coming in the meeting, you have to sign this list. So if you don't wish to speak, just let me know and we'll move to the next person.
If I want to speak but didn't sign this, is that okay?
I'm sorry, ma'am, it's after 6 o'clock.
Even with the traffic changes?
Yes. The first, and that's another thing. We ask that you don't speak from the crowd, that you remain, ruly. So please. First person up is Kayla Dawson.
Hello, my name is Kayla Dawson. My address is 2237 Madison Avenue, Apartment 2, Covington, Kentucky. And I'm kind of here as a last resort and to bring attention to things that are going on in the courtrooms, and as far as domestic violence, IPOs and EPOs are going. So I've been a Covington resident 90% of my life. I'm a survivor of domestic violence and every sort of violence you could possibly imagine. And I'm here for all of the people who don't have a chance to be here. And I apologize if my stutter and stammer makes me take longer to speak. Our system is leaving people who are asking for help dangerously exposed on a regular basis. I've applied for 2 EPOs in my life. The first one got denied with 5 individual. I had a binder of abuse categories, and I had 5 pieces in each of them, and the judge still denied me protection. And what happened after that was that person showed up at my house and almost took my life from me. Okay, so, and why? And after that, why would I trust going back? As of recently, I have been trying to help a family member, and I've called the police. I went to the station. I've had proof of abuse. I've tried to get multiple welfare checks, but just because the family member wouldn't comply, that's in the abusive relationship, who's had their kids taken from them already, there's nothing anybody could do. And the person that they're with has 1 endangerment charges. So I'm just trying to protect someone. When victims are turned away, the Kentucky stops tracking them. National research shows that most homicides happen to victims without protective orders. And locally, North Kentucky has one of the lowest emergency protective orders approval rates in the state. In our region, EPOs and IPOs are denied or withheld more than half the time, and we are the 2nd highest in the United States for domestic violence. That's not an abstract statistic. It's literally a threat to people's lives everywhere. And I'm not just talking about women, children, men, everyone. Covington does not have a mandated lethality assessment program for an on-scene screening, while like other Kentucky jurisdictions do have that, to identify high-risk victims and immediately connect them to advocates. We have the ION Center for Violence Prevention, yet we don't get to use it as it should be for people in domestic violence situations. I'm sorry, I'm autistic and I'm terrified. The court process has so many structural problems, petitions often filtered out on unclear technicalities, judges issuing blanket denials on paper applications, and petitioners frequently have no rapid opportunity to present secondary evidence or testimony. And genuinely, what's the harm if someone's just wanting protection? What's the harm in granting somebody protection when they are asking for it, begging for it? I've even talked to a couple first responders, and they would rather correct people and take people to jail who are violating an order than show up when it's too late. This is not about blaming individuals, it's about fixing a system that repeatedly leaves survivors exposed. I'm asking the board to use your voice, because I'm just a person to do something about this. Figure out why like more than half the people aren't getting help, and why we're the second in the state.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Vice Mayor.
Thank you for speaking, and I don't know that you're familiar with some of the things that we've done, but we actively engage and support the ION Center in every way. We also engage in, it's called the Green Dot Program and bystander intervention, and I'm also an attorney, so I intimately understand the obstacles. One of the representatives that was here earlier today actually changed the law to make it easier to protect the persons in those situations. So my only ask of you is, would you mind just giving your maybe email address to our city manager? I can reach you directly so we can understand exactly what you're asking, because this is something that has never fallen on deaf ears since I've been in office, ever. So let us know.
Who do I give my email to? I'm sorry.
There. Thank you very much.
Next person up is Mohammed Ahmed.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Mohammed Ahmad, 727 Edgecliff Road here in Covington. It's been a while, long time no say. I'll try to keep my remarks tight to respect the other speakers and constituents here today. I'm here to talk about my concerns with the proposed vote on the agenda to renew and extend the 10-year contract with Axon. For me, I understand that Axon already provides our local police with body cams and tasers, but the proposal to add the automatic license plate readers and AI reporting is something I find deeply problematic, because even though Chief Wheatholder said the city would own that data that would be captured instead of it being stored on some kind of cloud software like we've seen with the flock cameras, there is a strong chance that could change, and I think that's not a matter of if but when. I don't want our information placed on a cloud system that contributes to what I think is a more comprehensive and powerful surveillance state. And then specifically as far as AI goes, I think even if you replace a human with something like that, it's not immune to making errors, because who's to say that we won't see this potentially, I don't know, maybe being misused like we've seen with other flock cameras and other locales, which again, I know different and separate from Axon, but still equally relevant. But a big reason why I also don't trust adding on more Axon technologies, because if you don't know, Axon was just recently, they just recently acquired an Israeli technology company called Carbine. So Carbine would be combining their cloud-based technology with Axon's AI software. To add more context, Carbine's CEO, Amir Elichai, was an IDF officer who served in intelligence units. A little more context, one of those units, which is called Unit 8200, used AI technology called Lavender to target homes and civilian infrastructure in Gaza that were indiscriminately bombed during the genocide we just watched for coming up on 3 years. So I think we can see now how that genocide affects us beyond the fact that our taxes paid for it. So for all those mentioned reasons, I can't trust a company like that with our information or what they might do with it. I think instead of investing another blank check towards systems that only benefit national security interests that don't really share the benefits of everyday people, I think we're better off investing that $6 million towards more beneficial ventures like schools and programs and roads and the likes. I just hope this could start a discussion on how to rethink what security and safety means and why we should invest in community instead of surveillance. I think this type of critical engagement is important, and I'm glad that people in Northern Kentucky have collectively risen up across different divides to oppose this assault on our freedom and liberty. I think Independence and Newport's respective city councils each stood on the right side of history by ditching the flock surveillance contracts. So I ask that you all please do the same and vote not to renew or extend anything with Axon. Thank you.
Next person is Mr. Hill, Stephen Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Stephen Hill. I live at 901 Western Avenue in Covington, Kentucky. In their report on August 11th, the meeting of this body, Link NKY stated that the item I'm going to address was placed on the consent agenda, indicating it will probably pass. Like Don Quixote before me, I have a habit of foisting my lance at windmills. The latest windmill is item 9 on the consent agenda, the proposed sale of 3 lots bordering Western Avenue for the placement of 3 three-story apartment towers. The proposal indicates that the lots are contiguous. But you can see on the GIS map that I have in front of you that 866 Western Avenue is on the east side of Western Avenue. 867 and the combined 871, 873, 877, 73, 75, 77, I think is what it says, is on the west side of, those are the only two contiguous lots there. So all the information that they use to develop the acreage and the massing and how many residents they can put on that lot is incorrect. They only have 0.88 acres and not the 1.02 that they have. And the calculations, the proposal is incorrect. Also, 866 on that along Western Avenue is right where we just put up a retaining wall for about $1.2 or $4 million. It's also landlocked from Crescent Avenue, so I have no idea what they want with that lot or how they can develop it. It's a significant problem there. Last week, upon learning of this proposal, I responded with an email citing the historic slippage of this hillside. Every hillside in Covington is different, but this hillside slides. You've seen it with the retaining wall at the DeVue Park entrance in 2014, 2015, when we were on the hook to rebuild that retaining wall. You saw it with the requirement to rebuild Western Avenue along the east side with the retaining wall, $1.4 million. The current state of the east side of DeVue Park Drive, as you're going up to DeVue Park Drive, is slipping down that hillside. The abysmal state of Worth Avenue, the entire length of it, from Lewis Street all the way up to the grass street that borders this proposal, has huge divots and subsurface gaps. The lots in question meet the requirements of a developmentally sensitive area.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
I'm sorry?
Thank you. You have 3 minutes and your time has expired. Thank you.
Well, I would propose that you defy Link NKY and not consent to this incorrect proposal.
Next person, Aaron Masters.
Hello, I'm Dr. Erin Masters. I'm an accounting professor and proud resident of Covington. I live at 1344 Greenup Street. I did want to begin by thanking Commissioner Tubby and Acri. You'll both take my calls every time, and that's pretty awesome. And also the mayor who does Easter egg hunts with my kid. I'm here about the Axon agreement, and I just want to say that I don't think it should be on tonight's consent agenda. It is a 10-year agreement over 6 years. I'm an accounting professor, and I have some issues with a few of the things in the contract. The media coverage so far has really focused on the ALPRs, but there's some other things in the contract that I'm not a fan of. I know we've had ALPR cameras for 10 years, according to the media coverage, and I don't doubt that. But there is also a $743,000 drone that is autonomous, lives on its own, flies beyond where the operator can see it. It has speakers, spotlights on it. It's an autonomous surveillance drone. It's a pretty severe thing, in my opinion. It comes with a $33,000 cell plan so that it can communicate with the operators. And from my reading of the contract, that's actually in addition to the contract itself, but I could be incorrect there. I just want us to be really clear-eyed about what you all vote on tonight, and I don't think saying that we're updating equipment is the same thing as saying that we're adding autonomous drones. That is quite a different thing than just redoing the ALPR cameras. There is also the $2.3 million in AI licensing for 117 officers. The largest piece is software that drafts police reports from body camera audio. And I want to flag that the ACLU has advised against this technology, citing bias and the loss of officers' own independent account what happened. There have been errors that have occurred on this, and if it occurs, Axon does not hold that liability. The city does. And in some places, we see that the state's attorneys, or in our case, Commonwealth's attorneys, do not take this as submittable evidence. So I do want to know if our Commonwealth's attorney has said they're going to do it before we invest in such an expensive technology. And then on the license plate readers themselves, I know it says that it's audited, but the state law doesn't specify as to whether that's an independent audit. So I want to know if that's an internal audit or if it's actually what an accounting professor would define as a true audit done by somebody that's not biased and doesn't work for the police department, and if that audit would be made public. And one more thing, and I'll end with this. I really don't think this is about whether Covington police should have equipment updates when they need it. I think it's about a 10-year contract made by a board on behalf of 3 future boards, right? It's 10 years, $6 million. And after one question last week, I'm asking you to pull this item and to give it the discussion it's worth. I'm sure that if it's passed tonight, it will receive a lot more coverage elsewhere. And I think our community deserves a little bit more time to chew on this and to see what everybody's comfort level is.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Next person is Ann Mitchell.
Thank you. I'm Ann Mitchell, 215 Kentucky Avenue. I wrote an email regarding the Axon situation, and I appreciate the feedback that I got from the commissioners. But it was good feedback, but it's not 100% allayed my concerns. I feel that once we have given a 10-year commitment to this infrastructure from Axon, that the uses can expand into places that we don't want them to go. It's very hard to correct course under a 10-year commitment, especially a $6 million 10-year commitment. When, in my time in Covington, I've seen better interactions with the police when it's a less intrusive, more community-oriented interaction. When we had the bicycle cops, when we had, different low-key personal interactions and more training, I think that the community works better. And I'd like to see the shift away from high-tech and into the personal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Next person up is Bradley Harris.
Hello, I'm Bradley Harris. I live at 1345 Maryland Avenue in the east side. First, I want to say thank you. Oh, that's helpful. This is my parking, just so you know. I first want to thank you for taking the condition of 1414 Wheeler Street seriously when I sent an email to you all, and you have got it on the consent agenda, you funded it, and I'm just can't wait for it to be torn down. So thank you for that. Thank you for listening. Obviously, there's a lot of concern about the Axon contract. I just want to talk to one slim piece of it because the others have covered it nicely. But my piece is that when somebody starts talking about AI, it's a tool to reduce the labor involved in someone's job. And in this case, it happens to be 114 or so officers. And it was described as eliminating the data tax, which is a great name for that, the drudgery at the end of the shift of putting the report together, or if you've got an arrest or something, pulling that out and dealing with the data on the camera. Being able to do that is a great thing. Now, if it does it well, I'll assume it does, that's a great thing. It creates that first-person narrative for a police report. You don't have to go skimming through this long file tape or whatever. Transcribing, translating, that's all great. I want to talk about the fiscal responsibility that should go with that. When organizations put in AI, they do it to become more efficient. And that means cost savings, and there's been nothing discussed regarding cost savings that I can find anywhere in the discussion. If any organization is considering AI, they're doing it for that reason. If you're legal, if you're a CPA firm, these are the kinds of outfits that are using this right now successfully, and they have made some changes in their headcount because of that. Now, I'm thinking that with these guys and gals that are police officers may be looking at saving a half hour or an hour at the end of their shift. You multiply that times the number of days in the year and the number of officers involved, and you've got hours and hours of savings.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next person, Mr. Paul Long.
Yes, my name is Paul Long. I live at 345 East 17th Street in Covington. And I came here to speak on Axon. And I am familiar with all of you people up there, and I know Mayor Washington back when he was a sheriff's deputy, I believe. And I bring that up because I'm a former newsman for the Kentucky Post. And I bring that up because during my days as a reporter of the Kentucky Post, my main beat was cops, crime, and courts. And during that time, we listened to a lot of police radio chatter. I mean, we had one in the newsroom that went on all day and all night long. And one of the things I remember hearing during those was that when an officer either pulled over or had a reasonable suspicion of a car or a license plate, they were able to call in dispatch, and dispatch would be able to either verify the plate with the name and address and that it's valid, or that the car was stolen, or there are warrants listed on the owner of the car, and the officer could then take whatever action they needed to take. And my questions are this: I believe that still exists, and if so, I'd ask you to consider why we are spending up to $6 million in part for something that will duplicate that system. And I also know that dispatch has, in the years since I've been a reporter, has been expanded and upgraded significantly. And it seems to me that a lot of this contract, I agree with what everyone else said, but a lot of this contract is also duplicating efforts that are already available to our police officers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Long. At this time, that concludes our public comment, and we'll continue with the agenda. Next up is the City Manager's report. Madam City Manager.
Good evening. Tonight, under my report, we'd like to clarify some of the questions and concerns that have come up about the Axon contract. So in that vein, I'd like to invite Chief Weedholter to go through a couple of points that would hopefully help with this conversation.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to provide additional context regarding the recently announced Axon contract, particularly in light of public comment and discussion in the community. Some of those discussions reflect misunderstandings about the scope and purpose of the agreement, and I believe it's important that the board have a clear understanding of what the proposal provides. Much of the attention has focused on the approximately $6 million total contract value. While that figure represents the full value of the agreement, this is a 10-year contract covering equipment such as body-worn cameras, tasers, software, licensing, support, and related services for the police department. Additionally, a portion of the contract would be funded through asset forfeiture proceeds collected primarily in connection with drug-related cases. The bulk of the contract relates to the continued expansion and improvement of the city's body-worn camera and evidence management systems, which documents police interactions, preserves evidence, and supports transparency and accountability. And with that comes ever-increasing technology costs simply to maintain the equipment and services that we currently utilize. The agreement also includes new technology intended to assist officers with report and case preparation responsibilities, thus reducing administrative time while improving the quality and content of the reports. These improvements will greatly assist our officers in meeting our departmental mission of reducing crime and calling offenders to account. Additionally, the technology upgrade will result in the department being more accessible to our residents. The AI assistant software includes a translation feature which will allow officers to effectively communicate with non-English speaking residents and visitors during calls for service and other community interactions. Another part of our mission at the police department is to provide excellent customer service. Being able to effectively communicate with all of our residents has been a priority of mine as we work to better serve all of the residents of the city of Covington. I also want to specifically address concerns regarding automatic license plate reader, or ALPR technology. The Axon agreement includes a small fleet-based license plate reader component consistent with technology the department has used on 4 of our marked patrol vehicles for over 15 years. These mobile units are used for tasks such as locating stolen vehicles, stolen license plates, and finding missing persons who may be linked to a specific vehicle. This technology is significantly different from a broad fixed network designed to continuously collect vehicle location information. Unlike nationwide network platforms, the department's ALPR system would be limited in scope, access, and retention. The data is owned by our department and can only be accessed if permission is granted by a reviewing authority. The information gathered is not utilized as part of a national or regional network freely accessible by other departments. Furthermore, under department policy and in accordance with Kentucky law, ALPR data is retained for no more than 90 days unless continued retention is required for an active investigation or auditing purposes. Access is restricted to authorized personnel who must document the reason for accessing a license plate read, and those searches are regularly subject to audit by the commander of the Investigations Bureau. These safeguards are intended to prevent misuse and are consistent with professional standards and state law. I hope this information clarifies the scope of the proposal and addresses some of the concerns that have been raised publicly, and I stand for any questions that you may have.
Questions by the body? Commissioner Ackley.
Chief, I have a few actually, and I'm sure we're going to overlap here, so I'll take a few real quickly. Can you explain the reason for the drone? That's obviously a huge cost in this budget. I'm just curious, the drone, its use, does it have facial recognition? Is it continuously monitoring all these things? Just kind of a quickly explain the drone.
Sure. A drone is a first responder program. The drone will be placed at a fixed location throughout the city to maximize coverage, to be able to respond to calls for service. That location would prioritize the coverage area. The flight time of the drone is approximately 35 to 40 minutes. It would have to return back to the dock where it is housed to recharge. It typically charges from 15 to 95% within about 35 minutes. Ongoing surveillance is not possible with this. The drone can be linked to CAD calls for service. We can dictate what those would be, specific types of calls that we would want it to respond to. However, the autonomy does require a human to approve that flight. So somebody within the police department, if it's connected to the CAD service, would have to you can tell it yes or no, you cannot fly to that. So there is a human in the loop part of that. As far as what it would be used for, the possibilities are kind of endless with a drone. One of the things that we've talked about, a specific example here in our city, would be locating missing persons. We have the Ian alert in Kentucky because of a 2022 case that involved Ian from our city who walked away from the children's home and ended up being deceased. The drone is capable and has the technology that we could deploy the drone and we could locate somebody like that potentially before a tragedy strikes. We could coordinate, if we had a barricaded subject, anywhere there's safety of officers, safety of our residents, with the ongoing bridge construction in the city. If we have an accident with injuries, this is just one example. A lot of times our officers are communicating with dispatchers asking, can I get on at the 5th Street exit? Can I get on the 12th Street exit? Where are the cars at? And people are in kind of a panic mode. They don't necessarily give which mile marker they're at. So we could deploy a drone in that case when there's life-saving measures that may potentially need to happen. It could tell our officers where that accident is on the interstate, and we could respond faster as well as the fire department. Another thing that could be with us being bordered by the confluence of 2 rivers, the drone has the capability to deploy a life vest to somebody who may have fallen in the river. There's a multitude of different things that the drone could be used for. And the focal point for the police department is that the drone would be a tool to assist us in effectiveness of response. And you've heard from our community that they want community engagement. So the drone is not a replacement for police officers. The drone is a tool to help make a more effective response and provide better services.
My second question was, you mentioned earlier we've had the technology for over 16 years. There's been lots of studies done and reports written that explain that this has been misused by misreading a license plate. Somebody comes up and at gunpoint and pulls somebody out of their car, and it was, simply the wrong license plate. To your knowledge, and I know you probably don't have this data in front of you, has that happened since we've had this technology here in Covington?
There's no specific examples that come to mind. I will say that the technology is linked to the vehicle, not the people inside of it. So say you get a license plate hit on a stolen vehicle, for the safety of everybody, the officers are going to treat that like a stolen vehicle. They don't know who's inside, so the response is going to be dictated by what the hit is for.
Right.
I will say though that in the proposed Axon contract, there are increased mechanisms over what we currently have that would help prevent some of that. In the Axon platform, when there's a hit that is received from an officer in a vehicle, it requires the officer to verify it. It gives the picture immediately, it gives the spelled out character, so you have to verify that that's the correct license plate before you take any action. You have to confirm it, you give a reason, you can give a disposition of how that, at the end that was handled. And our policy also dictates that before we take any action, we need to verify that through dispatch, whether it be an NCIC hit or something like that, we would verify that first.
Good. Thank you. Do we have the ability, if we find one of these technologies just isn't working for our city, do we have the ability to cancel one or all of this contract?
Yes.
In the next 10 years?
Yes, we do. There are mechanisms built into the contract, and specifically for the entire contract, there's a breach clause, and then there's also funding mechanisms that the city would be able to, if that's what future commissions decide.
Thank you, Chief.
Commissioner Downing.
Buckle up. I've got a couple. All right. Some of these questions are from members of the public that weren't here tonight, and just for transparency, several of the questions that I have that I'm going to be providing to staff for public awareness, I sent to the chief and to staff earlier today, so that way we could make sure that we had we were able to give the public transparency. So just want to clarify for everybody. It's my understanding, based on our conversations, that we currently have 4 vehicles that have ALPR technology currently serviced through, you said Motorola, is that correct? Or Motorola, and this contract is effectively ending that contract with Motorola and applying that to Axon again, just the 4 cruisers. So we won't have the fixed locations like Flock, but we will still have the mobile cruisers that are doing effectively the same thing that you just described, correct?
Correct. Yeah, in the past, we've had 4, and that would be the current state with this too.
And in our earlier conversations, you'd indicated that it requires 2 officers effectively to do to add license plates into the system for tracking purposes. Effectively, you have the officer that's putting it in, and then you have a double check with a supervisor that is basically validating that this is a legitimate license plate that we need to be looking for, trying to identify. Correct?
So there are guardrails currently on the technology we use as far as entering them. There's specific people that are administrators, and then there's specific officers within the department in certain roles that can enter those license plates. Moving forward into the Axon contract, if it were to be approved, there are even more ways to monitor that and ensure that there are those mechanisms in place. And with the front side of an Axon contract is a lot of training and policy development, because we have never had the license plate readers through Axon. So the way it physically operates in the system is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And as we move forward with that, if this were to be approved, there are policy guidelines that we put into effect of who's authorized to put those in the system, and then auditing procedures to ensure that those should remain in the system or be removed.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to provide a hypothetical scenario. Let's say that there is a member of the public within the state of Ohio who has failed to pay their child support, and there's basically they're being called in. Would our license plate readers automatically flag that individual if that individual is parked in someone's driveway as the cruiser is driving down the street?
No. So with the Axon Fleet 3 system, it is linked to NCIC, so the National Crime Information Center. So if there is a warrant, a missing person, an Amber Alert, a Golden Alert, or anything that is tied to the National Crime Information Center, that would alert an officer. So most of the warrants, like the specific example you're given a warrant, unless it rises to a felony level that a prosecutor believes that a person needs to be extradited within a certain area, those are not entered into NCIC. So a local non-support warrant would be in the Kentucky e-warrant system, which is not linked to the ALPR system.
So an issue that rises to a certain level will be part of the national database that the ALPR draws from in order to scan the license plates?
Yes, anything that's entered in NCIC, which is the same as if the officer was driving by the vehicle and ran the license plate, it's the same return that they would receive through NCIC that way.
And for clarity for the public, NCIC is federal, right?
Yes, the national crime. It is not, sorry, for a point of clarification, it's not federal as far as federal crimes. It's a national database that is utilized by local entities.
Understood. Can you provide details around the auditing process that we currently have and how that will change under the new contract?
Yep. So currently, as I mentioned last week, the House Bill 58 went into effect, which requires auditing, and it requires the retention period. And then give me just a moment, I'll just go ahead and pull the policy up so I can state. So in our current policy that was revamped post House Bill 58, we modeled the changes in our policy with the Kentucky League of Cities recommended policy. And the auditing procedure that is currently in place as of today says that the Criminal Investigations Bureau commander or designee will conduct an audit every 90 days of ALPR detection, browsing inquiries from all agency systems. The auditor would randomly select 10 detection browsing inquiries from each ALPR system during the preceding period to determine if each inquiry meets the requirements established in the policy. Once the ALPR audit is complete, the auditor will draft a memo outlining the findings of the audit and forward the memo to the Chief of Police, and any violation of this policy may result in disciplinary action as outlined in General Order 26.1 discipline.
I apologize. Can you restate that in layman's terms?
And louder, please. It's very hard to hear.
So in our current policy, it would be that our Investigations Bureau commander would conduct an audit every 90 days of the ALPR inquiries that are run. They would select randomly. There would be a random selection done of 10 of those browsing inquiries from any ALPR system that the police department has or ever had. And then they would determine if those inquiries meet the requirements established by policy and law. Once they're done with that audit, they would forward that report, draft a memo to me, and forward the report to me to see if there's any inconsistencies in that. And if there were, that's where we would review for any kind of action that needed to be taken. And again, I'll go back to what I just talked about a little bit, is that as this new system, if it were to be approved, went into effect, the auditing capabilities within the system itself and learning all those new and implementing it and even amending this policy is something that can be done based on what we see with the system itself if it were to be put in place.
All right. So next question then. When we think about the fact that because you've talked about the fact that we have, again, validate that I'm correct, rather than going into a national database or into the cloud, the information that the ALPRs receive is going to be going into a database that is owned by Covington, local to Covington, and stored for 90 days, correct?
So the data goes into evidence.com, which is Axon's storage area. So it is stored in a cloud-based service through Axon. We own the data, and the only way that Axon can access anything is for like a support side of things, but it's not distributed. We own the data, they cannot distribute it to anybody. It's only for support side of things.
How do we prove that that's the case? How do we prove that they don't have access to that information? And sorry, I'm going to direct that to our legal.
The way we can prove that is looking at their own internal security and management systems. From what I know, it's encrypted. But almost anything you have today is going to be uploaded at some point to the cloud. It's not actually stored on the cloud, right? So, body cam records an incident. It's uploaded through the cloud to Axon's actual physical servers. If we were, right now we have over 400 terabytes of data. If we were going to be required to store that personally, from the city, you're looking at an administrative cost of millions of dollars, plus manpower to actually process all of that and utilize that.
So then I have a follow-up question, if I may. As the ALPRs are traveling down the street, and we know that we have license plates that are flagged based on kind of the federal database and those that are local to whatever issues we're trying to address, there's also going to be a variety of just random Joe Schmoes, members of our community, members of our public. When we are driving down and the ALPRs are scanning and looking for those flagged license plates, does it also capture and store those that are non-offenders, that are non-flagged, and then get sent up into the database that Axon manages?
Yes, so to go back to your previous question, one thing that the audit logs within the evidence.com system audits everything that is done, looked up, searched, both on our side, the policeman side, and the Axon side. It tracks everything that Axon does in the back end and us to address the other question. To answer the next question that you had about driving down the street, they don't discriminate against license plate. They will just drive down the street and they will record everything that it passes by. Anything that is not, we don't receive any kind of lead on, or it comes up in interest in a criminal case, or in the case of a missing person, or whatever those alerts may be, the retention period, as I mentioned, the policy would fall off, and by state law in 90 days, those would be gone at that point. And then the only thing that would remain past 90 days is if it ended up being linked to something that we were investigating, or it was of evidentiary value at that point.
So it passively stores non-offending license plates, but for the 90-day period?
Correct. Every picture that it takes, it stores for 90 days. Unless we decide that we can change the retention period as well.
Understood. Our city solicitor, I've got a couple of questions for you. if you'll allow me to. Can you confirm for me that whether or not we have any penalty associated with not funding the contract should we choose to pursue a 10-year contract and then the next commission cycle say we will no longer fund that? What is the associated financial penalty?
There's zero penalty. We just have to give 30 days notice, and that's it. If there's no funding, we can terminate the contract.
Okay. When we think about the comment that we received from the public around the AI reporting not holding up in court, can you speak? Do you have knowledge of? Can you speak to the accuracy of that?
Yeah. So that is not currently prohibited in Kentucky. So the AI reporting, it's an AI assisted generator. The report is AI assisted when it's generated. The officer is still required to actually look at that report, confirm everything in that report is true and accurate, and then if there are if there's anything that is not true, they can make that correction in there, and even those corrections are all going to be logged, right? Nothing can be hidden in the system. And I mean, specifically as to admissibility in court, KRS, I think it's, or KRE, Kentucky Rules of Evidence 803B, specifically provides a mechanism for the admissibility of processes, information taken from processes. So, an officer would, he'd be testifying and he'd say, this is a report that I created, and it was assisted using AI. I reviewed the report, it is accurate. I made these revisions to the report, or I didn't make any revisions, and that would be admissible as long as it was relevant to to the reason it was actually trying to be admitted. So I do not foresee any issues with admissibility in court.
All right. So then the only other question that I have is substantial differences between the contract that we're looking to sign and the way that we're looking at that versus the previous contract, basically the renewal that we're doing. From your standpoint, what are the substantive differences?
Other than the additional services side, the master terms of service I've reviewed, and it's the exact same terms of service that are in place right now.
All right. Thank you very much. Those are my questions.
Commissioner Tebby?
Go ahead.
Okay. First, Chief, thank you for sitting up there and taking some of these questions. I know this is longer than our typical meeting. But one of the questions I have with especially drone technology, AI technology, everything evolving so quickly, is there a reason why we would go with a 10-year versus a 5-year contract?
So the 10-year contract, through the budgeting process and trying to plan for this, we discussed that. I discussed it with the finance director, I discussed it with the budget director, and also with Axon. A lot of it is the technology's increased so fast, and the cost is ever increasing as well. So by locking into the 10-year contract over the life of the contract, it saves you a pretty significant amount of money. And through our budget and finance directors also being able to know what is coming and not have to worry about trying to figure out what those costs are going to be moving forward was a point that they liked as far as a budgeting perspective. And I mentioned it briefly earlier. A lot of this contract, I know the focus has been on some of the additional things such as drone and ALPR, but a significant portion of this contract is just to maintain the current services that we have without anything else, and that cost significantly increases over time. So the significant cost, when you look at it, is not necessarily just new technology. It's just to keep up with what we currently have. And over the course of the actual dollar amount, by going with the 10-year contract, in addition to some of the bundling savings, what they believe to be inflation costs over the course of the contract, should we do it on shorter terms, was about a $540,000 or so savings to the city. And then with the mechanism that we've talked about, that if future commission or council does not believe that they have the ability to fund it, that we can get out of that.
Mr. Tebby.
Another question. Mr. Harris made a mention earlier around like cost savings around report writing, and one of the things I noticed during when I did my ride along a couple years ago was how many times we had to start and stop the report. We'd start working on it, go to a call, running around. And just thinking back to like your time when you were out on the streets, you know, did you spend a significant amount of overtime doing report writing at the end of the shift?
There is, I mean, part of police work is a significant portion of it is writing reports and documenting what you've done for evidentiary purposes. So I don't, and Frank mentioned this, I don't want to confuse AI-generated reports with AI-assisted reports, right, which is what we are proposing. The officers still have to complete the Kentucky Ops report, but the AI assistance piece of it would help generate the narrative portion of it, which would be a savings for sure. I mean, there's been some upgrades in the Kentucky Ops system where we can copy and paste people's information and make multiple copy reports faster. This would help with the narrative portion. And another reason why this is beneficial to us is sometimes when officers arrive on a chaotic scene, they maybe have 5 or 6 different people talking to them, yelling, screaming at the same time, and they can only remember, and they can only take in so much in those chaotic scenes. So their recollection of that, even though you can audibly hear somebody say something to them in a body camera, doesn't mean their attention wasn't on something else. So I've heard a lot of good feedback from our detectives and our investigations bureau that, hey, if this technology is available to us and that AI assistance is capturing some of those things that were said, but the officers didn't necessarily hear, it's very beneficial because when that transcription comes through, they would have that immediately when they're assigned a case the next day or on a Monday or whatever that case may be. And then they're not spending hours upon hours upon hours sifting through that to maybe hear that in the body cameras or listen for something else, and that also can speed up a significant amount of investigations.
Well, you just answered my next question because I was going to mention my time in Afghanistan, you know, especially as chaotic situations come, trying to recall the sequence of events becomes extremely challenging, you know, in those high stress environments. One other question I have about the drone, and obviously if nobody's aware, I am a Part 107 drone operator. You know, you're talking about the battery life. That was one of the things that I knew right off the bat, like it's something that can't continuously fly up there. Do you happen to know what the top speed of that is?
I do not.
And the reason I asked, so I'm looking at, you're saying it's roughly, what was it, 45 minutes flight time?
Between 35 and 40, I think is what.
And I'm thinking if there's a call in Latonia, so that flight from wherever it's housed to there could be 5 to 10 minutes. It has so many minutes on time, and my drone tells me you're this far away, you got to spend 7 minutes to come back. So that, just want to clarify, that's not 45 minutes and, you know, hovering over a location or anything like that. That counts transit back and forth. And the last question I had is, when the drone is traveling to and from a call, is it recording during that transit time, or is it only record once it gets on scene?
I believe it starts recording as soon as it leaves the dock. Yeah, sorry, I believe it starts recording as soon as it leaves the dock. And your last question, he said 45 miles an hour would be his speed.
Same speed as a recreational, that's my drone. Does.
So there's a lot of data we have that we have reviewed. And when I talked earlier about the placement of the drone dock itself, a lot of these is that the drone, some agencies who have put the data out, the drone has responded like 77% of the time faster than the first responding officer to get on scene. And then if you look at the data from where the dock is, that it takes usually less than 3 minutes for it to arrive somewhere within that radius that it's capable of.
And one more, I'm sorry. And last thing about the quarterly audits that are done, would there be any concerns with, you know, future commission or council members, I assume it'll be a council by the time everything gets brought up, be copied on those audits for awareness?
No, and there's so much great data and reporting built into the system. There's a transparency portal that some departments have that we can show you examples of that gives you just about what types of calls the drone went to, the average time that they were spent on them, and all that data is pretty much built in.
And the same with the ALPR data?
Yes.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
So one, thank you for providing your insight here, and I think everyone in this room realizes the incredible value that this brings, but there's also an incredible concern about privacy. I think that's why everyone here is coming and asking questions, and we all share those questions and appreciate the opportunity to get those answered. I also appreciate you sharing. I think when the $6 million contract hit the public, they were like, what in the world are you guys spending $6 million on? But I appreciate you sharing that it's a 10-year contract. I also appreciate you sharing that it's going to break down some barriers when we're speaking to folks. It's also going to afford us the opportunity to solve some substantial issues much quicker. But then you also weigh that against everyone's privacy. And with that, I just have a few very quick questions. These folks have, all these guys have asked some excellent questions, and I've also got my lawyer hat on, and there was just a couple things that I was looking at when you shared this with us, and you said that the data is owned by our department and can only be accessed if permission is granted by a reviewing authority. What is considered a reviewing authority?
So those discussions have been had internally, and sorry to keep going back to the same things, but if this technology through Axon were to be approved, the ALPR portion, that is something that would be new to us because we've been using ALPR but on a different system. So the auditing would be, or the approving authority would be that we could set in our policy, we could make it so that if there were any requests to enter a license plate into something, that it would be required to go through a bureau commander or the investigations bureau commander so that it's approved. And then the same thing with if we have a neighboring agency that has a stolen vehicle in their jurisdiction and they reached out because they thought it might have traveled through our city, the mechanism for that is they can't even directly request that from us. Obviously, they could reach out to an investigator in our city and ask, but we, through the Axon system, would have to generate a partner request to them, and then they would have to accept that, and then we would be able to share it for a specific criminal case. So and all that can be dictated in our policy. We do have the current policy, but obviously some changes may need to be made to policy as we know what the capabilities are and how they specifically work in the Axon ecosystem.
Got it, 100%. I understand that. This might be just a quick question for our city solicitor. And I know there's so many questions here, and this is something that we need. And well, actually, first, Chief, I'll ask you this. It appears that the bulk of everything that we're discussing is the minority of the expense that we're going to be paying. Is that what I'm understanding? So in other words, we're concerned with the license plate readers, and those are things that evidently, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we already have in place. But a lot of what you were sharing is something that we're just maintaining. Is that what you were sharing? We're maintaining. That's the bulk of this contract, is maintenance.
Right. So the items that are in the current that we currently have, and we would continue to have if this contract were approved, is the body-worn cameras, tasers, Axon interview room, which is the ability for our detectives to record the interviews that are done in the Criminal Investigations Bureau, the fleet, which is the dash cameras, auto tagging, which is where it ties to our CAD system and will automatically tag based on the data what type of call, the call number, and for us to utilize for sharing cases and managing cases. A redaction suite, we were receiving a tremendous amount more open records requests all the time, and in order to be in compliance with open records law, we have to go through and redact specific, whether it be juveniles or specific things that can't go into open records. So there's a redaction suite within that software. The storage and licensing is in there. That piece, just to maintain the current part, is estimated to be over $3 million, just to maintain what we currently have. Mm-hmm. The ALPR portion that has been a high topic of discussion, that represents about $13,000 over the course of the 10 years. So it's about 0.2% of the entire cost of the contract.
Understood. And as an attorney, I do have to share with the public the power of AI, both there's different facets of it, but I can share very publicly that there are cases that can be solved exponentially quicker with this sort of software, and it can review 10,000 documents in a moment. And I'm navigating it now, and it'll solve these cases, but I'm still having concerns, obviously, about privacy and everyone else's as well, and I know that there's probably going to be some more discussion around that, but I cannot deny, and the public needs to know, the value of putting folks behind bars that need to be behind bars with this technology. I've seen it firsthand for the past 6 months, and it's been pretty incredible. But towards that end, this is for our city solicitor, very specifically, if we have some questions, like right now, this is on the consent agenda. I don't know how the board's feeling, but if we have 1 or 2 questions, we put this on the consent agenda, but we still have those questions, what's the process from there?
Well, per our typical process, if it stays on the consent agenda, then the clerk will read through the consent agenda, and then it would be approved, right? If you want, you can put it on regular. You can move it to regular, and then you'll have to take a vote.
So let me just be clear. If this were to go on regular for any reason at all, what is the adverse effect to us as a city? Other than obviously the quicker that we identify some issues, the quicker that we solve them. But otherwise, is there anything else that we need to be concerned with?
I don't think so. I mean, I think you'd still have to vote on it. This is a legislative meeting.
Okay. So let's just say that we all put it on consent and something wild comes up and we say this isn't working. That process at that point, I'm assuming that we would have to have a majority of our board to say that we need to move in a different direction. Is that?
Correct.
Okay. So absent anything wild.
So if you put it on regular, you'll have to do a roll call vote.
Okay.
Majority vote for or against, right?
Yep.
If it's on consent, then if the majority approves the consent agenda, then it will be approved as part of the consent agenda.
Fantastic. And I know that we've got a lot of other items that we're going to discuss specifically to this on some nuances, but I just wanted to speak directly to those. And otherwise, I have no other questions, and thank everyone for your feedback, your questions, and thank you, Chief, for the clarity. Thank you.
One last question by Commissioner Tebby.
Just a clarification on a date. So it was mentioned, one of the speakers, about just why don't we keep what we have now? On our current contract's expiring, what date does that contract expire?
September 30th.
30th?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, no further questions. At this time, we're going to put the item on regular, so it'll be on regular. Also, item number 9 will be placed on regular. Just a little procedural thing. So city manager is going to complete her report, and then we're going to go through the consent agenda, and then Madam Clerk, item number 15 will be the first one. Item number 15 will be the first one read, and then we'll go to item number 9. Thank you, Chief. Madam City Manager, do you have anything else for us?
Nothing more to report, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Will the clerk please report?
An order accepting the retirement of Officer James Cannon, Police Department, effective September 1st, 2026. An order accepting the resignation of Officer Tristan Parsons, Police Department, effective July 31st, 2026. An order approving the hire of Ethan McCauley as Covington Police Officer, effective August 31st, 2026. An order promoting John Sadowski Jr. to the position of Director of Economic Development, effective August 26, 2026. An order approving the hire of Michael Jones as Assistant City Manager, Administration Department, effective September 21st, 2026. An order authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase agreement with Danielle Strauss for the purchase of 1318 Scott Street and 110 Pleasant Street. An order authorizing the mayor to execute an option to purchase with Patton Street LLC for the property located at 609 Patton Street. An order authorizing the mayor to execute an option to purchase with Spire Development Incorporated for the property located
That goes on to regular.
Oh, sorry about that.
You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
An order approving the purchase of 2 2027 Ford F550 XL Super Cab 4x4 vehicles for the Covington Public Works Department from Paul Miller Ford. An order approving the purchase of 5 2027 Ford F350 XL Crew Cab 4x4 vehicles for the Covington Public Works Department from Paul Miller Ford. An order approving the purchase of one 2027 Ford F-350 XL regular cab 4x4 vehicle for the Covington Public Works Department from Paul Miller Ford. An order approving the purchase of two 2027 Chevrolet Equinox EV vehicles for code enforcement from Bachman Commercial. An order authorizing the city to pay for the 2027 fiscal year membership contribution to South Bank Partners.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as read.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Ackery,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Tevy. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Clerk, please report.
An order authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Axon Enterprise Incorporated to provide an updated suite of equipment, software, and licensing for the police department.
Pleases the board, I'd like to offer an amendment to the motion, and I'll read the motion. Motion regarding Axon contract and public safety technology. Motion, I move to approve the Axon contract subject to the following conditions and safeguards governing the city's use of surveillance and public safety technology. Number one, flock cameras. The city shall not purchase, install, or deploy flock cameras or participate in a flock camera network under this contract without separate authorization by the Board of Commissioners. Number two, license plate reader data, access and sharing. Any license plate reader technology operated by the Covington Police Department shall be used solely for legitimate law enforcement and public safety purposes. Access to such data shall be strictly limited to authorized Covington Police Department personnel. Covington-generated license plate reader data shall not be routinely or broadly shared, disseminated, or made accessible to outside law enforcement agencies, third parties, regional or national databases, or any generally shared surveillance network. Such data may be disclosed outside the Covington Police Department only when required by law, pursuant to a valid court order or other lawful legal process. In connection with the documented and legitimate law enforcement investigation or emergency, or by the order of the Board of Commissioners. Number three, license plate reader searches and data retention. License plate reader data that is not associated with an active investigation, criminal case, warrant, stolen vehicle, missing or endangered person, or other documented law enforcement person shall be automatically deleted after 90 days. Historically, license plate reader data may be searched only with the approval of the chief of police or the chief's designee. Searches of historic license plate reader data without prior approval of the chief of police or his designee shall be permitted in special circumstances where time is of the essence or where other exigent circumstances are present. Each approval or special use shall be documented and a report shall be generated identifying the data of the search, identifying the date of the search, the person requesting or making the search, the approving authority, and the legitimate law enforcement or public safety reason for conducting the search. Data associated with a documented investigation, criminal proceeding, warrant, missing person investigation, or other legitimate law enforcement purpose may be retained beyond 90 days as permitted or required by law. Number four, drone deployment. The Covington Police Department shall establish and maintain a written general order governing the deployment and operation of any unmanned aircraft system or drone acquired or operated by the department. A police drone shall not be used for routine, random, or indiscriminate surveillance of residents, neighborhoods, lawful gatherings, or private property. For purpose of this policy, an active criminal incident means an ongoing or immediately developing event involving conduct constituting a felony offense in which law enforcement officers possess facts and circumstance sufficient to establish probable cause that the offense has occurred, is occurring, or is imminent, or where the use of the drone can reasonably assist officers in protecting life locating or apprehending a suspect, assessing an immediate threat, securing an active scene, or safely resolving the incident. A drone may also be deployed to locate or assist in locating a missing, endangered, vulnerable, or lost person, including a missing child, for disaster response, fire, rescue, or other emergency operation where there is a threat to life or public safety, and for the legitimate city economic development process, including site inspection, mapping, planning, documentation, or promotional purposes, providing that such use is not conducted for law enforcement surveillance or criminal investigation purposes. Number 5, drone deployment reporting. Each deployment of a city or police department drone shall be documented. Within 5 days of each deployment, a written report shall identify the date and time, that deployment, general location, purpose, legal or policy justification for deployment, approving authority, duration of the deployment, and whether photographs, video, or other data were collected. A report documenting each deployment shall be provided to the city manager every 30 days. Number 6, prohibited drone surveillance. Nothing in this authorization shall permit the use of a drone for generalized surveillance, monitoring individuals without legitimate authorized purpose, or observing constitutionally protected activities solely because individuals are exercising their lawful rights. Drone data retention. Number 7, video, photographs, recordings, or other data collected through drone deployment shall be deleted within 90 days unless the information has evidentiary value or is connected to an ongoing documented law enforcement investigation, criminal proceeding, public safety matter, legal requirement, or other authorized city purposes requiring continued retention, or when such data is being used by the city for economic development purposes. Any data retained beyond 90 days shall have a documented basis for continued retention. Number 8, policy, accountability, and 6-month reporting. The police department shall maintain written policies addressing authorized use, supervisory approval, access, searches, data retention, data sharing, security, auditing, and accountability for license plate reader and drone technology consistent with applicable law and the conditions established by this motion. The police department shall provide the Board of Commissioners and City Manager with a report every 6 months regarding the use of these technologies. The report shall include, at a minimum, the number of license plate reader data searches conducted, the general purpose of those searches, the number of drone deployments, the general purpose for those deployments, and information regarding data retained beyond the standard retention periods. The report shall not disclose confidential investigative information or personally identifiable information prohibited from public disclosure. Number 9, Chief of Police Public Safety Exception. Notwithstanding any other provision of this policy, the Chief of Police, and only the Chief of Police, may authorize temporary exception to the restrictions contained here within. In the Chief's professional judgment, extraordinary circumstances exist, and the exception is reasonably necessary to protect life, prevent serious bodily injury, address a significant threat to public safety, or respond to an urgent and legitimate law enforcement need. The chief shall have discretion to determine when such circumstances exist and what actions are reasonably necessary to address them, consistent with applicable federal and state law. Any exception authorized under this provision shall be documented in writing by the chief, including the circumstances necessitating the exception, the action authorized, and the public safety justification. The chief shall provide the city manager with a report of the exception as soon as reasonably practical following the incident. Nothing in this provision authorizes an exception to any requirement imposed by federal or state law, the United States Constitution, or the Kentucky Constitution. The intent of this motion is to provide the Covington Police Department with appropriate technology, necessary to protect the public and effectively perform its duties while establishing clear safeguards governing privacy, surveillance, access, data sharing, retention, transparency, and accountability. I have a motion. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Downing. Discussion. Commissioner Ackery.
Mayor, although your last statement, I agree with 100%. We want to give our police, all of our first responders, what they need. I would respectfully request to table this to give our public a little bit more time to ask us questions and move this to our next legislative meeting.
I'll second the motion to table.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to table the motion, or to have a motion to table. Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Ackery.
What are we motioning here?
Voting to table.
Aye.
Commissioner Downing.
No.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Tebby.
Aye.
Mayor Washington.
No. That, the motion, Frank?
So with that, the mayor's motion is tabled, and yeah, that concludes this item tonight. It will be moved to the next legislative meeting.
Okay. So by rule, the item's been tabled. By rule, it's been tabled for a year, because there hasn't been a date.
That's not correct. It's tabled till the next legislative.
Hold on, hang on for a second, hang on. Let me make a comment, then I'll let you talk. Okay. All right. So by rule, my understanding is that it is tabled for a year. Commissioner Tebby.
The motion was made to table this until the next legislative meeting. We have used tabling such as the CCA, where it was tabled until a future date, which was not a year, and it has been practiced within the commission before.
That's correct.
Commissioner Ackery.
I'm simply asking for this to be tabled till the next legislative meeting to allow the public to have more time to talk about this. That's it, which is what I thought we just voted on.
Vice Mayor?
And I just want to clarify, that was my understanding of the motion, was to get a few questions answered, because I think that we all know that this is a next step, but we need to address these nuances. So I just want extreme clarity. What are the next steps here? Because 1 year was not my understanding, and
It's not.
okay, just that was it. I wanted clarity, because I think that the nuances that were just addressed are an incredible step towards where we need to be. I think there's minor things that need to be adjusted where we can introduce this and finalize it. So I just wanted clarity around that. That's all that I've got.
Commissioner Downing.
I believe the differences that we're discussing up here are the difference between tabling and passing things over. Is that correct? Passing things over means that it is off of our discussion for the next year. Tabling means that we have to identify the item and then specifically bring that up. It has to come from us and not from staff if we are wanting to bring it back onto the agenda.
Robert's rules.
Okay. With that,
for a minute.
With that item, Commissioner, any other questions on that? I'm going to ask for a suspension of the rules, because this would usually come up during discussion, but Commissioner Ackery has said that he wants to have the public informed. So without objection, can I suspend the rules so I can ask Commissioner Ackery?
Yes.
Are you,
Yep.
without objection? Without
Yep.
objection. So you're saying that you want the public to have a public forum, or are you stating that you just want questions answered by staff?
I would like to extend the time that the public has to ask us and staff more questions before we put it back on a vote.
Okay, so you're not asking for a public session?
No, sir.
You're asking for just the public to have the right to come back and speak with us?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Madam City Manager. Frank?
So just to be very technical.
We need technical at this point.
So the motion was to table the mayor's motion, not to table the item. So therefore, the commission has the ability to move something to the next legislative agenda. So you have effectively tabled the motion to pass the item, but you have not passed over the item itself. You are simply moving the item to the next legislative meeting and, in effect, tabling the mayor's motion, so pausing the mayor's motion.
Procedurally, then we need to, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Commissioner Downing?
Procedurally, then we need to table the item itself. No?
No. Through the effect of the motion,
Okay.
You guys have moved it to the next legislative item, the next legislative agenda.
Okay. So Vice Mayor?
Just a quick question, and to Commissioner Ackery's point, I know that the desire here is to hear a little more, get some insight, just generally, maybe some staff questions. What is, just because I know that there's a lot of technicalities that we're operating around at the moment, I think that we need to understand the timeline that we're discussing with the public to say, hey, reach out to us, talk through about, what you want. I didn't know if you had any vision around that, because obviously I think that at some point we need to move this forward, but we need to make sure it's very narrow, and I think the exceptions that were laid out by Mayor Washington are very narrow, and there might be a couple other things that we can pick up, but what do you envision here, just so we can be same page?
Looking at my calendar, hold on. The 8th, is that right? Yeah, next legislative meeting is the 8th. Is that correct? Yeah. So I think we should bring this back onto the agenda on the 8th and take a vote then.
And City Solicitor, would that mean that we are bringing the issue to table and the amendments on the 8th for consideration? Am I understanding that correctly at the same
Can
time?
I interject for just a second? Can we get 5 minutes to just look at the rules and come back? Would that be possible? Just 5 minutes?
Yes, we can.
So we can be perfectly clear about the direction moving forward.
We will stand in recess.
So the measure
I'm calling the meeting back into session. Solicitor Schultz.
So, Mayor, we've reviewed the standing orders. There is some ambiguity, so on whether or not your motion would be tabled for a year or for 2 weeks. So, I think that it would probably, if the board wants to open this up for additional comment tonight, you can, whether for BOC comment or public comment, and that would just be a simple motion to suspend the rules. Due to the ambiguity in our current orders, somebody could argue that it's technically tabled and, for a year. Well, technically the end of the current session. So until the end of, it wouldn't be one calendar year. It'd be until the end of, 2026. So, if you want to move forward, I would recommend, the safest route here.
Right.
Thank you.
So basically, we have a motion on the floor, and then we have a second on my motion. Correct? So with that, have a motion on the floor, and we have a second.
So what we'd have to do here, if you want to reconsider the vote to table, then you need to do a motion for reconsideration of, I believe it was Commissioner Acker's vote to table, and then you need to vote on that. And then you would address your original motion.
Vice Mayor.
So I have a quick question. 99.9% of what our mayor introduced is fantastic, and I think we can continue to build upon it. And I also know that we've already suggested that we move this particular issue to regular. And I'm having difficulty separating the two. So if we're trying to, I think at the core, we know that we need to hear more, we need to learn more and ask questions, and no one wants to push this out a year. So I'm asking you as our city solicitor, what would be the best step if we just want to hear from folks for a week or two and we want to accept everything that the mayor introduced, maybe have some edits? What does that look like? What's our next best step? No pressure, by the way.
If you want to push it out for additional review, you could allow additional comment tonight, see if there's anybody else here that would like to comment.
I don't think that that's likely that we're going to get the folks out here tonight. That's the ticket.
If you want to push it out further, then you run the risk of this ambiguity in the rules, and whether or not somebody tries to attack the decision later, that it really should be tabled for a year.
And then my only other question would be, and you're the expert here, but there's been multiple occasions in which we've suspended the rules to achieve an objective. Would that be an option here on some level?
That would be an option.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you.
Hence the finger.
Commissioner Downey.
Thank you. I think that we are in a situation where we know what each of the commissioners has expressed in terms of their desire. We know that we have a motion put forth by the mayor in order to outline additional requirements before this contract. We know that we have a commissioner that has proposed moving this off for 2 weeks in order to accept additional public comment. We know that we've gotten that second. Regardless of what Robert's rules are or what our current procedural process has been, we should, in theory, be able to suspend rules to be able to accept that sequence of events such that we can then apply them for the next 2 weeks. Is that correct?
That is my understanding, yes.
And if we did such an action, is that something that could then be held in, could we then be challenged based on?
You could. I don't know if, I don't think that challenge would win.
All right. So then, can you recommend the course of action so that way I don't bumble it with my inadequate legal expertise, so that way the commissioners that have made the proposal can move forward with the proposal that they desire?
And before you answer that, is there not a standing motion right now on the floor? So there can't be, doesn't that have to be ruled upon or voted on before another motion is entered?
Your motion for reconsideration, then, yeah, I mean, I think, assuming, yeah, that would need to be ruled on first.
Can you repeat the current motion?
So it would be, I believe it's a motion for reconsideration of the original motion to table.
Brother, my head hurts at this point.
Mine does too. So, excuse me. In order to ensure that, this is the cleanest route possible, the suspension of the rules would have needed to come before the tabling. So you need to basically void the prior motion that tabled it. And you do that by doing a motion to reconsider.
Okay.
And then after that, you need to do a motion to suspend the rules.
Okay.
And then another motion to table.
So to clarify.
So we need 3 motions.
There's an open motion on the floor made by the mayor, and it needs a second, that if we're doing what I had suggested before, it would require us to have a second vote on that gets second, and then suspend the rules to then take the other action, correct?
Correct.
All right, then I will second the mayor's motion.
I have a motion on the floor to reconsider my motion, and we have a second. Is there discussion? Okay. Hearing no discussion on reconsidering my motion, it'll die, right? If it's so. With that, would the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Ackrey?
I'm just going to be frank. I still don't know exactly what we're doing here. Like, I asked this, I'm simply asking the table for 2 weeks. So now are we approving the mayor's motion? Mayor, I understand you're getting frustrated, but
I'm not
this is not clear to me.
I'm actually not getting frustrated. I'm just enforcing the rules that the Board of Commission passed.
Understood.
They're not my rules, they're our rules that we passed.
So now, to be clear, I agree with your motion. I don't want to approve this until we have more time to communicate with our residents. That's all I'm trying to say here. So if I'm approving your motion, I do not want to approve this budget until we have more time to speak with the residents, with the constituents. Because they can't speak to us next week, so the next time they can come up here and speak would be in 2 weeks, which is why I'm asking to move it to the next legislative meeting.
So maybe you need to amend my motion. You can amend my motion. You can amend my motion to that and add that to it. So well, my motion is to accept it, to accept the contract, so.
That's why.
So I have to.
I can propose something that might be simpler for everybody.
Sure.
Take an actual vote on the contract tonight, and then allow a period for public comment as you see fit, and then amend or basically take further legislative action after that to reduce funding in whatever areas that you think are needed. Therefore, the public will actually know specifically, what you're reducing if you want to.
Vice Mayor Smith, who's also an attorney.
Just to be clear, so you're suggesting that we vote on the contract as is tonight without the amendment that was proposed. And then at that point, we revisit it, introduce that, any questions in between, maybe we change a little thing, and then we bring it back. Am I understanding that correctly?
Due to our authority in the contract, any part of that contract can be terminated if there's no funding for it.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
So it provides you a mechanism to return to it at any time that you like.
Perfect. Got it. Yep. All right. Let's go.
I withdraw my motion.
Now we'll need
Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion to, will the clerk please report number 19? Or 15, my apologies.
I'm sorry.
Can you read number 15, please?
Yes. An order authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Axon Enterprise Incorporated to provide an updated suite of equipment, software, and licensing for the police department.
May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by the vice mayor. May I have a second? Calling for a second on the motion.
Point of order, question.
Point of order.
Clarification. If I recall, if we don't have a second, we can still bring it back up.
That's correct.
So if we don't have a second, then we don't have to worry about tabling, not tabling, anything like that, which is the spirit of what these gentlemen were trying to do. Okay, thank you.
There's no second on the motion dies. There's no motion. So with that, we're going to move to the next order of business, and I'll make remarks about the Axon contract by rule under mayor's comments and discussions. So with that, will the clerk please report on number 19?
Number 9.
Oh, I'm sorry, number 9. Long night.
An order authorizing the mayor to execute an option to purchase with Spire Development Incorporated for the property located at 866, 867, and 871 through 873 through 877 Western Avenue.
Madam City Manager, there's been several addresses. Is there a confusion on the addresses? Mr. Holmes?
Good evening. The addresses included with the option are 867 Western, and the parcel that is 871, 73, and 77 Western. It's about 200 feet of frontage. Then also 866 Western, which is directly across the street.
Any questions for Mr. Holmes?
Just one.
Commissioner Downing.
We had a member of the public come up and express some concern about the way that the information was being calculated. As you listened to what he shared with the commission, is there any concerns that you have based on what he had shared?
No, but I'm not a surveyor, and just based on taking a look at the measurements, it seems close to an acre, a little bit over an acre. But you cannot rely on LinkGIS for 100% accurate field verification. I've had this happen with other projects where we've been involved with, where actually the surveyor, our survey showed much different than what was on LinkGIS by several feet. So the primary land in question is about 200 feet of frontage.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Holmes? Will the clerk please call the, well,
Commissioner,
I have to have a motion in a second, right? Motion, Commissioner Ackery.
I'll second.
Second, Commissioner Downing. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Ackery?
Aye.
Commissioner Downing?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Tebby?
Aye.
Mayor Washington?
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, next order of business. Man. Commission discussion items. Any commissioner wishing to discuss any items? Commissioner comments? No commissioner comments. Mayor's comments. So if you're moving it to the legislative agenda, which takes unanimous consent, and you want to have public comment at the legislative forum, I don't know that I'm comfortable with moving it to the legislative session. Are you not thinking that maybe you want to carve out special times to have the public come and just address this issue and, push it out for like 30 days or so and just have a forum on this instead of, a legislative session where they're going to come and it's going to be restricted for 3 minutes and, staff's not going to, we've done these things before. I think it would be best if we just go ahead and have a forum. So what I would suggest is that we allow staff to put something together and to approach us, and we have a community forum on these cameras, and then out of that community forum, and then we can put it back on the regular agenda, meaning the not consent, but the caucus agenda, and then with that, we move it through the regular legislative process. Is that okay with everyone?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Commissioner Ackery?
What will that do to the contract? City manager, sorry.
The contract ends on September 30th. We can potentially see if we can get an extension, but I don't know. I don't know. The contract does end on September 30th.
Yeah, for clarity, Mayor, and everybody else, the previous contract, obviously, we were okay with. This contract, I am mostly okay with. The public is not. And I feel that we, need to give them their time to ask more questions. I know we've drugged this out. I apologize. But Mayor, I appreciate that offer, and I think that is absolutely the right thing to do for the city.
Vice Mayor?
I second that, and I'll also say Axon knows our money's really good, so I'm assuming they'll work with us. I'll just say that. But I do want to commend everyone up here. This wasn't an easy conversation, and thank you to everyone that came out, everyone that's giving feedback, and even I know that we're all getting messages right now about this contract, so the engagement's pretty incredible, and I just wanted to say thank you. That's all.
Commissioner Tebby.
And just if there is any implications with waiting 30 days, can you just let us know as soon as possible? I support this. It's just, I know Link wrote an article in May during the budget session about the drone when we approved it then. And then this latest article didn't come out till Friday, and it looks like a big push was made to residents in the past 24 hours. So I just want to give people time to look over that article, listen to some of the things, and just ask us any questions they may have.
So I think we're all in agreement. We're asking the city manager to look into a date approximately 30 days out or so to come back with a suggestion on, a public forum for this. And, we've done this before, and that's what we'll go for. Okay. It's been a long night, but I'm not finished. So, under Mayor's comments, Winston Avenue. As many people know, Winston Avenue, Latonia, needs to be resurfaced, something awful. I, myself, and my fellow elected members have been pushing on the state to get this done. We understand what our community, our neighborhoods are going through out there and falling into potholes. We've been in contact with District 6 over and over again, and we got a reply from the chief engineer that I personally find unsatisfactory. He basically says in his email to us that he knows the street needs to be resurfaced, and he knows that potholes are not going to help it and not fix the problem, but they're going to keep doing potholes because the project's not funded. I personally reached out to our legislative representatives and asked for their help, and they've been trying to help as much as possible. So, you know, I'm asking this board without objection. I think the next push should be to the governor's office. We need to continue to fight for our community on this. It's ridiculous. You know, we got a major thoroughfare into a very important part of our city, and we're being let down by non-elected members of our community. Vice Mayor.
Just very quickly, 100% support that. And two, one of the things that we did in the past was actually tell the state we're going to take it in our own hands and you give us the money for it. I don't know if that's something that we're doing now, but I wanted to toss it out there because I love the idea of this board and this city being able to control the things that the state isn't doing for us. So just wanted to toss it out there, and Commissioner Downing may remember, and I don't even remember when or where that was, but we ended up doing some work ourselves, and the state ended up paying us for it. So just wanted to toss that out there, but thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. That's awesome. That's all I have to bring up. Without anything else, we're adjourned.